Recording in progress.
Hello, and welcome to a design thinking overview by Al McLeod for the Master in Management program. So the objective of this training is to give you an overview of design thinking and give you a couple case studies, one very high level and the other one in a bit more detail that actually I was responsible for in my last role that I had. So let's start. So when does innovation happen? It happens at the intersection of these four lenses. First is, do customers want it or need it? The human lens, also known as desirability. The second one is, should we do it? And that's from a business perspective. Is there a business model that supports this idea? And that is called viability. And finally, can we do it? Do we have the technology to be able to do this? And that's called feasibility. And one more lens that's been added in the last while is integrity or impact. So what's the impact on planet and people of our innovation? Is it positive or is it negative? And it's something that we need to make sure that we're doing the right thing when we're innovating. And so design thinking says just go through the human lens to see if customers want or need it. So many of the most successful companies in the world use design thinking to guide innovation. You can see here, Microsoft and Apple, and Google, and Intuit, and Netflix. These are wildly successful companies, some of the most valued companies in the world. And so why? Why do they use design thinking? Because of superior business performance and higher return on investment for their innovation, for sure. Enhanced user and customer experience, absolutely. Stronger research-backed business decisions. Design thinking is based on research. Greater competitive advantage in innovation, 100%. And improved company culture and team alignment. Having your company implement positive innovations is definitely good for your culture and team alignment. Oh yeah, and one more thing, it works. So it works, so people use it. So here are is the design thinking methodology. It looks like a linear methodology, but it's not actually a linear methodology. It's iterative, and I'll show you that as we go. So it starts with some kind of a wicked question or challenge, and I say wicked question or challenge because if you have a simple challenge, you wouldn't use design thinking because it's a fair bit of work. So this is usually something complicated, and at the end, once you're successful, you're changing the world through your innovation. One of the taglines I love is don't fall in love with the solution, fall in love with the problem. This is a problem with corporate innovators and also with entrepreneurs when they think they have a problem because it's their problem, but they don't really make sure that other people have that same problem. And they charge ahead and fall in love with their solution rather than, I believe if you fall in love with the problem, that's the best way to go because then you're really aligned with your customer. So let's go. First of all is the problem phase right here. And the first step is empathize. And so what you're doing here is you're doing deep research using AI, using, of course, Google search and other tools. And then you're empathizing with the customers by doing interviews and asking, trying to elicit stories and insights. And you'll see some of those examples. Once you get your research and your customer questions and all that kind of stuff answered, you have a lot of information. You take that into the next stage, which is the define stage. So in the define stage, what you're doing now is taking all this information and synthesizing it down and making sense of it. So you're going to try and create and have a specific problem that you're going to solve for a specific customer. And that's typically what you end up with. And then you reframe the problem. Hopefully you can actually have more than one customer group with the same problem, but really what you're looking for is a customer problem to solve. So once you have that, you then go into the ideate stage, into the ideate stage. And in the ideate stage, what you're doing is you're pulling together a diverse team to come up with ideas, as many ideas as you can. In order to have good ideas, you have to have lots of ideas. So if you come up with 100 ideas, the ideas you then what you do is you get together as a team, take all those ideas and you look at how you can cluster them. So you can take 3 ideas in the same area, maybe some kind of a user interface thing for the customer, take them, put them together, make a bigger idea out of it. And then once you get the idea you want to present to the customer, you create a prototype. And the prototype could be many different things. It could be a marketing sheet, explaining how you're going to bring your product to market. It could be a report, it could be a mock-up, it could be a paper model, it could be a click-through prototype of a mobile app. So lots of different opportunities there for options there for a prototype. Once you got your working prototype, you go and you test it with customers. And you're really trying to not make something very fancy here because you want to test and get fast cycles of testing and prototyping going. And of course, you can always go back from test to prototype, all the way back to ideate or define, and because it's an iterative process. Finally, you have something you want to put forward to change the world, or it turns out it's not going to work and you kill it and you have other things you work on. That is design thinking. So there's these rules of engagement that IDEO came up with. This is from Stanford D School, I should say. And so rules of engagement, make the customer the heart of your decisions. That is a key thing to do. Making sure that's why it's called human-centered design. Welcome uncertainty and ambiguity, because one of the things about innovation, you're not sure as you're going through the project, and that's okay. Certainty will come. You want to have a beginner's mindset. You don't want to come in with your biases and already think you know the answer. Again, don't fall in love with the solution, fall in love with the problem. Be curious, seek to understand, ask lots of questions. Start with an assumption, test and act on information, and bring your designer mindset, which really, here we are. Our mindsets are a bias towards action. Don't procrastinate, take action. Radical collaboration means you've got a diverse team, lean on them and work together. Crafting clarity means what you're trying to do is you're trying to, when you come up with your idea, be really clear in it so people understand it. Want to focus on human values, that's the human-centered design. Show, don't tell is about when you're prototyping, you don't want to just tell someone what your answer is, solution is. You want to be able to show it to them and demonstrate it to them. It's much easier to understand that way. You want to embrace experimentation. Experimentation is a superpower, and be mindful of process. You don't have, again, you can iterate, so you don't have to be a slave to the order of the process, but what you really need to do is understand the process and the power of each of the steps. So one thing I want to mention quickly is systems thinking. So systems thinking is used in conjunction with human-centered design, because in human-centered design, you're focused 100% on the customer, the user of the system. But with many systems, they can be really complex and have lots of stakeholders and systems involved. And so even though you're focusing on the needs and experience of the customers or users, you want to consider the systems and the stakeholders while you're designing those great solutions, because it could be key that you get those things right? You have to get the systems and stakeholders right. There's lots of change to do. And so you really want to make sure you collaborate with stakeholders, employees, partners, suppliers, whoever it needs to be. And zooming in and out is something you do in order to get different perspectives. So you can zoom into how a customer is using an interface and then zoom out to see the impact on the overall system and stakeholders. So system thinking is very important. So here's one of the most famous, if not the most famous, of the design thinking, successful design thinking projects. So the Bank of America Keep the Change program. So in 2004, Bank of America hired IDEO to boost their enrollment numbers. They asked the question, how might we encourage new customers to open bank accounts? So IDEO and them got together, talked to a bunch of customers. They found that one woman rounded up in her checkbook for easier calcs and a buffer. Single mother struggled with saving, had nothing to put aside, and then even a small amount saved is good. It provided a financial buffer, helped them manage financial security. So they reframed the problem from how might we encourage new customers to open bank accounts to how might we help families save money? Because now you've got a problem that customers are having a hard time saving money, and you've got a solution, right? Which is, or a problem you want to solve. How can we help them save that money? So they put together a diverse team of product managers and software engineers and finance people and operations people, had a 20 brainstorming session, came up with 80 product concepts, one favorite idea. So the team created a cartoon video for a prototype displaying the Keep the Change program, and then they tested it in an online survey with 1,600 participants. And Keep the Change program, the way it worked is you have a debit card associated with a savings account. When you use your debit card to buy a $2.30 cup of coffee, $2.30 gets charged your, $3, I should say, gets charged your debit card, but the 70 cents change goes to a separate savings account. It gets saved. And so at the end of the year, you have a couple $100 in savings. So this program quickly took off. First year attracted 2 million customers. It's since grown to over 12 million, who have saved a total of $2 billion. And 3 in 5 new Bank of America customers choose to enroll in the program, and it has a 99% program retention rate. And you've seen this used by charities, etc. This is a very popular program. This is where it originated from. So the thing to remember out of this is the original challenge. The bank wanted to have more customers opening bank accounts, new customers. And they did that by helping them save money, not by not by giving me a toaster or an iPad, but actually. So this one is my favorite because I was responsible for this program, and it's called the Insurance Broker Knowledge Program. So in 2017, my company separately brought 2 groups of brokers, so insurance brokers. We work all through brokers, sales and service brokers. We brought networks, a couple companies that are networks of brokers, and smaller companies who are very digital savvy. And we brought them in separately, 2 different days. We asked them the question, how can Wawanesa improve the distribution channel for brokers so we can help them sell more and service better? And so the digital brokers and large broker networks had some different pain points, and they weren't together again to talk. We talked to them separately, but a few big common ones. 2 that stood out were a lack of digital connectivity to carriers and the broker access to insurer knowledge bases. I'll talk more about those in a minute. So here we are. So this is explaining the knowledge base issue. So a customer comes into a broker and asks for a quote on a home policy, and the broker, what they have to do is they have to go to all of these different backend, or as many as they want to. So let's say they want to go to 6 or 8 different companies to get a quote. They have to go to a different portal for every insurer, which has different technology, different credentials for logging in. They do 8 times, each of them update at different times and different processes. They call our products different things. They have different terminology across the 8 insurers. It's really a knowledge nightmare. So if you're in this insurance broker, you have a tremendous amount of work to do and you don't get paid that much for it. So that's a pretty big problem. And so there has to be a better way than this. And the customer, I'm sure, would agree. So what we did is we did this 2x2 graph, and we came up with a whole bunch of issues that they had for us. And these 2 rose to the top that we talked about before. So API connectivity is the connectivity to carriers, and that allows you to connect in real time, the broker systems and carrier systems. Very complicated because there's multiple carrier systems and multiple broker systems. And the project has been going on actually in the insurance industry for many years, and no end date yet for finishing. But the second one, the knowledge management one, is interesting because if you looked at that knowledge management scenario, you saw that maybe that's something we could solve. So that's the one we picked to work on it, even though we knew it would be really, really hard. So then what we did is that we reframed the problem is how might we provide better access to insurer information to better service our shared customers? And we nicknamed it Google for Brokers. And so our innovation lab spent months researching and ideating on the question, studying the hundreds of Wawanesa documents and experimenting with AI techniques to see how we could solve this wicked problem. But we realized that it would not be possible for us to do this because we'd be reliant on our industry competitors accepting the change we want to make. And that was never going to happen. That's just not the way the insurance industry works. So what I did was we had met this InsurTech company, startup called Phone Navigator in Kitchener at our Kitchener Innovation Lab at Communitech. And so what I did is I reached out to their CEO and I said, hey, we see this problem. Talk to brokers. This is a serious problem. And so what this startup did is it was a chatbot partner of brokers, and they created something specific brokers that would answer questions when they weren't in the office or things like that, or would serve as a front end to the call center. And so they worked with quite a few of the brokers. So I went to them and say, hey, how are you guys looking at this? And they said, yeah, actually, we thought about this because we've heard it's a problem too. So at that point, we agreed and we decided to collaborate on a solution, but we kept it to ourselves. So we created this thing called Ask Sage. This is the system that ProNavigator developed with our help and support, and we actually partially funded it. This AI-based system was adopted by other leading insurers due to the broker pressure to support the product. So the insurance carriers have even started using the product for their own needs to understand their own products. This is a big win for us as a company as we figured out a way to help the broker channel by leveraging a scrappy startup and brokers. And what we're able to do is come up with a solution to a very, very difficult problem in an industry that doesn't really collaborate very well by going around the rest of our competitors directly to brokers in order to get them to get their other insurance companies to comply. So what we did was we had an event at Communitech in Kitchener, and we had, it was talking about digitizing insurance. We had a bunch of speakers out, including myself. And as we were having this discussion with brokers, we invited a bunch of big brokers out. As we were having this discussion, we announced that we were working on this Ask Sage project with ProNavigator, and they were there to demo it for them today. So we actually had a booth set up, and our partners were demoing this Ask Sage. Actually, I think it was actually a partial MVP. Anyway, and then we said we're holding joint design thinking workshops to explore the broker and carrier needs for a commercial version of Ask Sage, and we asked if they would work with us to help. And that's what happened. We ended up having a bunch of design thinking sessions for brokers in different cities, mostly in Ontario, mostly in Kitchener-Waterloo and other cities. But we had quite a few of these, and we ended up successfully developing a product with ProNavigator, which they brought to market. And here's the latest. So I reached out to Joseph D'Souza, who's the CEO of ProNavigator, and I asked him, how's it going with our product, your product? And he said, hi, Al, great to hear from you. Yes, we continue to grow in Canada due to all the mergers and acquisitions that have been happening. We've been partnering with some of the larger ones like Hub, NFP, Gallagher, Western Financial. These are very large broker groups. So that tells you that they've been very successful. And remember, because in order for this to be successful, there are other carriers, insurance carriers, also have to adopt the software to provide the information in that format. That tells you that our solution of having the brokers through ProNavigator driving adoption of this new industry standard is working very well. So that's something I'm really excited about and proud of. And that is the end. So thank you very much. And that is a very brief overview of design thinking. Thank you.